Bills Mafia. Well, Brandon Beane finally did it. And tonight we're going to talk about the huge trade for wide receiver DJ Moore. Let's talk Bills. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Bud Talks Bills. And as I mentioned, there has been a trade. Brandon Beane has sent a 2026 second-round pick to the Chicago Bears for wide receiver DJ Moore and a fifth-round pick. Few quick initial thoughts on this one. Brandon Beane finally did something. There's been a lot of talk about his salary cap management, his roster building. One thing has been certain over the last couple of years is we have really struggled to build a wide receiver room with consistent playmakers. And this is a move that no matter how you feel about it initially, in terms of cap consequences, that draft assets given up or the player itself, Brandon Beane finally made a move. I think that this gives Buffalo an outside playmaker that's proven in the NFL. He's established, working with, solid quarterback play all the way down to, pretty bad quarterback play. There is some cap consequences with a move like this. We're going to get into some of that. And anytime you trade, with another team, player for player, player for pick for player, there's always going to be talk about, was the value worth it, giving up, certain players or draft assets like Buffalo did this year. Getting right into DJ Moore, 6 foot, 213 pounds, kind of a versatile wide receiver. Started out with Carolina, 8th overall pick, actually played for Coach Brady as he was his offensive coordinator in Carolina 2020. Had kind of a down year, and honestly, I think something that's kind of concerning Bills fans is that somewhat, if you want to call it, downward trajectory since he's gotten to Chicago. But a down year this year: 85 targets, 50 catches, 682 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Last year, 2024, with Caleb Williams, 98 catches, 966 yards, again 6 touchdowns. And in 2023. And I want to emphasize, in 2023, with Justin Fields as his quarterback in Chicago, put up 96 catches, 1,364 yards, and 8 touchdowns. I mentioned, an established, proven wide receiver with solid quarterback play and obviously bad quarterback play. Justin Fields has not really proven himself to be halfway adequate as an NFL quarterback. In 2019 to 2022, that's 4 years of solid play that ended up encouraging Chicago to actually give up an entire draft haul for DJ Moore, combining for 309 catches, 4,413 yards, and 19 touchdowns in those years. Again, consistent with the quarterback play that DJ Moore has been subjected to. Kyle Allen started 12 games in that period of time. Cam Newton, PJ Walker, rookie Will Grier. You're talking Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield before they kind of got the resurrection in their careers. And we've been down this, before. There's been receivers that Buffalo's, signed, particularly with Brandon Beane, and I think maybe a cautionary tale, is Curtis Samuel. Previously worked with Joe Brady, and you look at the numbers and the production, and you say, he did this with bad quarterback play. What's he going to do when he gets with Josh Allen? Personally, I think that these are two very different players. DJ Moore is an established, at one point, highly regarded wide receiver one in the league, and I don't think that a couple down years with some inconsistent quarterback play, offensive schemes changed. You're going from, coach to coach. Ben Johnson comes in. We can get into all the different, conversation around what Caleb Williams is as a quarterback. Obviously, came on late in the year, phenomenal talent. But there was some questions about his ability to kind of flow within an offense, and especially Ben Johnson's offense, which is going to impact numbers, especially at that wide receiver position. Right now, we're taking on a contract that is the 12th. He's the 12th highest paid wide receiver from an AAV standpoint at $27.5 million a year. There will be a restructure. It's going to lower that cap hit. Some of the numbers I've seen is lowering that cap hit from about 23.5 million down to 7, give or take, plus or minus a little bit. That's going to get a rise out of a lot of Bills fans. There's been a lot of talk, around the league and from Bills fans specifically about Brandon Beane's handling of the cap and the roster and kicking the can down the road. I personally believe that, they're going to restructure this. They're going to kick some money down the road. They're going to guarantee, convert, not a salary cap expert, but they're going to figure out the money aspect of it, which will create some dead cap on the back end of this contract. Do you want to see dead cap? No. But I am of the belief that Brandon Beane is going to do whatever it takes to win a Super Bowl within the next 2 to 3 year window that he's got with Brady. And if that means kicking the can down the road with some of these contracts, trading some picks away, I've said it on podcasts before. Beane knows if this doesn't get figured out and they don't at least make a Super Bowl in the first 2 years, his bags are packed too. So, if this doesn't work out, he's gone. If he doesn't make the move and draft picks don't work out, he's gone. He's taken a swing. And like a lot of these conversations and topics that we've covered so far this offseason, we don't know the right answer. Right now we got to see how this plays out. There was a lot of talk about trading for a wide receiver all offseason so far from Bills fans. Sending a first for Brian Thomas Jr. down in Jacksonville. Obviously, there was, a little bit of smoke around Justin Jefferson. Not that I thought that was, really ever a real possibility. But with DJ Moore, you're sending a second round pick for the 12th highest paid wide receiver, in terms of a annual, per year value. He's a man beater. There is numbers, to back this. I've found some things here. DJ Moore, okay, this is per Next Gen Stats, has totaled the 5th most receiving yards against man coverage since 2023. He has also generated the 3rd most receiving EPA versus man in that span. Now, he's on a list, like I said, 5th most receiving yards. Other guys on that list here: number 1, CeeDee Lamb; 2, AJ Brown; 3, Puka Nacua; 4, George Pickens; 5, DJ Moore. This is something that Bills fans have seen. There's some of the sluggishness of this offense, last year can be contributed to teams not really fearing the wide receiver, room, the deep downfield play threats, of the players in that room, and just kind of mugging the line, playing man and saying, beat us. There was a lot of talk from players around the league saying, we're just going to play man against Buffalo. And DJ Moore is somebody, that consistently beats man. With the experience, with, playing with Coach Brady, there was actually an interview, I believe it was with Matt Harmon of Yahoo Sports, not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, where he talked about Coach Brady getting the head coaching job in Buffalo and what it was like playing for him. And, DJ Moore discussed different nuances of, passing concepts and routes. And, the numbers kind of speak for themselves here. In that 2020 season, DJ Moore averaged 18.1 yards per catch, which is a career high for him. 66 catches, 1,193 yards, and 4 touchdowns in only 15 games that season. We've seen it before. Buffalo bringing in a receiver that has worked with Brady and it not work out. And I get that that's, something to discuss. It's definitely something. But again, I just compare the player of DJ Moore to those other guys, most notably Curtis Samuel, and I don't think that they're a comparable. But you can't really compare the two in terms of what they do. For the team on the field. I think that this is a move that gets you that reliable, proven commodity at the receiver position that still allows you to kind of double dip. There's still more free agency to play out. There's obviously still the draft and getting to the draft. Yes, I get that we gave up a second round pick to get him. We can argue whether that value is worth it. A lot of Bills fans wanted the Bills to take a receiver early in this draft. And there's some guys to be excited about at 26, maybe even in the second round, the pick that we gave up. I just don't believe that there's a proven player, a player that you can point at and say, yes, we take him. He's going to give us an impact on the field, that you can look at DJ Moore and reasonably estimate the impact that he'll have. So if we still have our first round pick and we're drafting a player of DJ Moore's caliber in the second round, I think we're all happy with that. And getting that fifth round pick, Brandon Beane has done work in those rounds, that fourth, fifth, sixth round. So getting an extra pick there in that kind of sweet spot where he likes to kind of find those gems, I don't think that that's a bad thing. And also to the point of the aggressiveness and that kind of pressure that I talked about, kind of my gut feeling is that maybe he doesn't even sit there and take that pick at, in the fifth round, but maybe we kind of parlay that pick, get back into the fourth round, maybe use some of these future picks in next year's, draft to move back up. I just think that the pressure is on Brandon Beane at this point, and he's going to make some moves. He's going to be aggressive, and he's going to try to build a roster for his job. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what he's doing. So there's guys that we can get, in the draft, like I just mentioned, but there's still free agency. I think that this kind of marks the end of the talk with the Alec Pierce, contracts and, the Mike Evans, the Romeo Dobbs. I don't think that we're in a position to go out and add, another contract of that value. But I saw a lot of fans talking today, instant reaction of, Alec Pierce. Well, if you're going to trade a pick, for a DJ Moore at 23.5, why not give Alec Pierce, 25 million? Alec Pierce is very good at what he does. And I'm not here to talk bad about, Alec Pierce, the player, but we're looking for a proven commodity wide receiver that can come in and help this wide receiver room and help Josh Allen get open, move the ball, kind of be, that reliable outside wide receiver. We've never seen Alec Pierce do that. So in a way, the kind of the cheering for Alec Pierce could be seen as just another contract based on projection. Granted, the production so far to this point, is more than a guy like Josh Palmer, but you're kind of projecting that contract out for Alec Pierce, and I don't know if I'd be comfortable giving Alec Pierce in that role $25 million a year, to kind of hope that he can expand and add on to what he's already done, in Indianapolis. There's still other guys and somebody just kind of, quit going through, there's guys on the bottom of this, free agency, free agent list for wide receivers. Hollywood Brown projected to be $5 million, give or take. Not a huge Hollywood Brown fan, but I mean, you add him to that room, for $5 million, kind of work it around there. I think that would be a solid back end addition to this wide receiver room. Another guy that maybe more of what Buffalo can add, and there's some connections with Greg Dortch in the wide receivers coach for Arizona coming over. He's now our wide receivers coach. Greg Dortch is right now projected at about $1.5 million market value. Adds some electricity to the return game, speedster, stretch the field, and you can get him kind of in that, maybe Brandon Cook's role and kind of save some money there. Bring Greg Dortch in for a little bit less than you'd probably get Brandon Cooks for somewhat of the same role, with a top end guy like DJ Moore at the top of the depth chart there. I really I think it kind of gives the entire wide receiver room a new dynamic. There's more that's going to happen this offseason. Free agency, the draft, and Brandon Beane is going to be aggressive. I think he sees the timeline. I know I discussed it in previous episodes of Joe Brady was given a 5-year contract, but he does not have 5 years. And as soon as his time's up, Beane's time's up. I think there will be a serious push, to get this team to where it needs to be with the focus of the next 2 to 3 years. And DJ Moore really does that. There's guys in the draft. There's guys in free agency. There's still moves that we can make to save money, or create money, I should say, to fill some of the other gaps on this roster right now, especially on the defensive side. But at the end of the day, for some of the negative talk from Bills Mafia about this trade so far, at the end of the day, DJ Moore is the best receiver that the Bills have had since, prime Stefon Diggs, when we let him go after, it was at the 2022-2023 season. DJ Moore's the best receiver we've had since him. And, explosiveness down the field, run after catch. There's a lot to be excited, with this trade. And yes, it's going to push some money around. And yes, that's going to, create some tension with Bills fans that already think that Brandon Beane isn't handling the cap the right way. If DJ Moore is the move, the top end of this wide receiver room, with another piece, tweaking a little more and maybe giving up a draft pick here and slightly overpaying in some Bills fans' minds there, and it gets us a championship in the next 2 to 3 years, I don't think anyone's going to care about that second round pick in 2026. I don't think anyone's going to care about a inflated cap, dead cap, in DJ Moore's 32-year season, to 32-year-old season. I'm excited about the move. I think that there's more to be done, even in the wide receiver room. And despite some of the things that we can kind of point to and say, well, this isn't okay. We wanted Brandon Beane to make a move, but not this move. I think that, we need to kind of sit back and let this really, really play out. Again, excited about the move. I think that DJ Moore is going to bring something to the Bills offense that we've kind of been lacking, even if it's just a reliable outside receiver that's going to get open for Josh Allen in man coverage. And we can argue again about the draft assets, if the trade value is worth it, the cap hit. I'm going to do what I've been doing all season, and that is trust Brandon Beane and trust this team and trust Joe Brady to put these guys in the right position, get the cap to where it needs to be, and fill the holes where they need to fill it, and just bring a championship back to Buffalo. Do I think that this is a move that just automatically, yep, okay, Bills are, winning the Super Bowl this year? No, I don't. But I think that this is a very good step in the right direction. And I really wish that some Bills fans would take a step back instead of just really wanting, to fire at Beane for not doing what they wanted him to do, and understand that, there's two sides, to every move in the NFL. And this is one that potentially could be very good for Buffalo's offense. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight on Bud Talks Bills. Again, really excited about this move for DJ Moore. Excited about what it could bring to the offense, and excited about what's next. There's going to be more moves. there potentially could be more trades. Free agency's right around the corner, and just really excited to see what's next. I think that we're going to get a really aggressive Brandon Beane this offseason, and I'm here for it. Honestly, I'm just really excited about what's next and what's coming up this offseason. So if anyone wants to reach out and interact, I know, I always say, always down to talk some Buffalo Bills football. You can find me on Twitter at @I am Bud _. Always down to talk some Buffalo Bills football. We'll be keeping an eye out for the next move that Brandon Beane makes here leading up to free agency. We got the draft coming up. Really excited, guys. And I'll leave you with Go Bills.